The Alberta Construction Association thanks the National Research Council's Industrial Research Assistance Program for funding support for this exoskeleton demo project.
And I'm doing another demo for QSI in like 2 hours.
In the summer of 2021, the Alberta Construction Association partnered with Hilti Canada to facilitate a series of demonstrations for a revolutionary piece of technology. These demonstrations represented the culmination of a years-long path from a global innovation through Hilti's research and development and finally to market. But not an existing market.
We are creating a market, essentially. Even though we know that exoskeleton have been available for a longer period of time, it hasn't been a product that with the main focus in construction. It's actually a huge move from Hilti perspective to really embrace a complete new technology to provide health and safety to our contractors. So that is essentially why I saw so much value in partnering with the ACA to really work together and have their perspective from a trade association the same way for us as a manufacturer.
But just how did this partnership between a manufacturer and a trade association come to be?
Pure fluke. I follow a whole bunch of information feeds, and one day I saw a headline that Hilti was rolling out the EXO in Canada, and I literally just picked up the phone, and it's been a great partnership. Hilti's a great firm to work with. The Alberta Construction Association has a mandate to improve market opportunity and reduce risk for our members in the industry more generally. Contractors have embraced innovation for decades and now are adopting various technologies to improve performance. Alberta Construction Association's board of directors are fantastic people, and they sort of said to me, Ken, if you can identify technology opportunities that resonate with the members, that's part of your job, go and do that. So we settled on exoskeletons, again, thinking more about the whole fatigue and wear and tear affecting so many of our skilled trades professionals.
At Hilti, one of the big things that we strive to do is create a better future. And one of the things that we believe we can do that with is with human augmentation like the exoskeleton. What are we doing in the industry to increase the longevity of those aging employees? And then what are we doing in the industry to make it more attractive for younger workers to come in? And so the EXO actually addresses both of these really, really well.
So with a trade association looking to improve the local industry and a reputable manufacturer with a new piece of health and safety technology, the shared goal became awareness.
The project was intended to give on-site demonstrations for industry to try out the technology, assess potential barriers for adoption, and ultimately to assess their readiness to invest in the technology.
So, just what is the EXO-01?
So it's pretty straightforward. You wear it just like you would a backpack.
The EXO-01 is a human assist exoskeleton worn on the upper body, and its primary focus is on overhead tasks.
The end user is essentially non-structural trades, given the fact that those are the laborers who will be more exposed to overhead applications, and that's where you actually see the value of the exoskeleton we have available right now.
That's actually quite a bit of a difference.
The idea is realistically anyone on a site who wants to have a reduction in the stress and fatigue that they're going to feel in their shoulders, upper back, and have any of that concern around, going home just feeling a little bit sore. It could fit this wide swath of, anyone on a site who's working overhead and who wants to obviously feel better at the end of the day.
Well, yeah, everything goes up on its own, so kind of just sit there nicely, right? But tight in here, it's very, very congested. Right now, if I had a little more room, I think it's pretty good.
It's called the golden hour. At about 80% of the day is when fatigue starts to really set in, and that's when you can start to see accidents occur with more frequency. And that's obviously where there's a chance that just due to someone being tired, maybe being distracted, whatever, they can potentially get injured. And so something like this can help prevent that fatigue from occurring. So ideally they'll have just a bit more energy and be a bit more alert. But then additionally, because they're not having the same wear and tear on their body, it should help them, provided they're performing the same applications they were before in the same way, their body should not feel the same stress and fatigue, which then could potentially lead to an injury or deterioration of a joint or muscle.
This technology, in terms of seeing an impact right away for the user, it would take some time, and we're conscious of that. But our job as a manufacturer is to educate our customers, right? And it's up to them to decide whether or not they want to make it as part of the daily routine, but start creating some consciousness that by adopting this technology, they will be able to work safer, and hopefully when the year comes and retirement comes, they won't have any issues because of the hard work they were exposed to.
The demos themselves were great, and the reason why they were great is because they had a physical, tangible experience with the device. We've talked about it in the past, and it sounds, like I told you before, a little too good to be true. But then when we were able to see the device, have the Hilti reps come out, show us how they're utilized, seeing that they were here to provide us a solution to a potentially unidentified or unresolved issue that we're having within the industry.
So, if the demos were useful in raising awareness about the exoskeleton, how did it handle its field testing? What was the blue-collar feedback on Hilti's shiny new innovation?
Straightforward. It's basically the same as a harness. It's not too confusing at all.
For electrician work, a lot of the splicing is just for a long time, just up here, so it would work perfectly for that.
Over the course of the day, I think the exoskeleton would definitely make a difference.
You could definitely see it being pretty much a staple on job sites in like 5-10 years from now. Definitely help a lot of the back and everything too.
Once you get to this point here, all the weight is distributed back to your hip. So basically your hands are pretty limb, so it feels more relaxed.
Were you almost surprised by how much it helped?
Actually, yeah.
I like it. I'm impressed. Yeah. So, you want to try it?
Sure, we'll try it.
Yeah.
In the field, when most users were able to wear the Exo, the feedback most of the time was really positive, and that's what we were exposed to.
The biggest thing is managing expectations and setting the correct benchmarks of what the exoskeleton is designed for, what are great use cases for it, versus when someone has an expectation for it, when someone says, well, it's not really for us. And when you dig into it and you find out, okay, well, they were working masonry straight ahead. It's like, that's just not a situation where the Exo is going to engage. So then it's not going to offer the support, and therefore it was never going to be a fit.
It felt like somebody's literally holding your arms up for you. So it's really nice, like, to not have to overexert your body when you're trying to hammer drill inserts in. Once I get up to here, that's when I felt it, and that's basically all I'm going to be doing in my trade is hammer drilling when I'm up, my hands up there. When you're not working above your head, I mean, you're just putting something else on you, right? So the best way to do it is plan out a whole day of overhead work, then get the exoskeleton and let it do the work for you, and then you're done with that. Take it off and do whatever you need to do without it. It's for task-specific painter or a drywaller or mudder that's working above his head all day, you're going to notice a difference at the end of the day, 100%.
Hanging racks would be useful when you're tapping in strut, anything like that. Anything that's light to medium weight up high.
There are some pieces that we're going to take away in terms of feedback, maybe just in terms of how it fits on someone's body, maybe what type of alterations, if it's padding, what have you, that we can incorporate into Generation 2.
The only comment that he had that was negative, didn't work really well with his suspenders, his belt, and the unit together. He basically couldn't wear his suspenders. It was just too much to wear at the same time.
it really was helpful for the trades that we targeted. So contractors that really were working from waist to shoulder height and that type of repetitive work, that's who we targeted. And the feedback that we did get from them was excellent. They were saying that it reduces a bit of strain, it doesn't take over. They were still fully in control of their body and their mechanics, but they felt like the load wasn't as heavy, and that they believe that this device could reduce the chance of strain or sprain or injury in itself by utilizing it.
You want help with that? No.
When worn correctly and used in the right application, the exoskeleton works as advertised. But more importantly, Hilti and the ACA wanted to find out about barriers to adoption. Why wouldn't somebody invest in this technology?
Cost would probably be the main thing.
I can't see it being something that a first-year apprentice is going to invest in for sure, but maybe once the price comes down a little bit more. But
it always just comes down to that cost-benefit analysis, and if it makes sense from a financial aspect for the organization to go down that road.
Yeah, everything's pretty cut pretty tight on bidding and quoting on a project, and so to spend the extra money, it's basically out of pocket. Right?
When we think of the construction industry, especially at the mid-sized and big players, they're very cautious and careful, right? You know, they've managed to become quite successful under certain processes, following certain protocols or workflows. They have to be very careful and aware of the risks and make sure they're calculated when they go to implement a new workflow, a new piece of technology. You know, they get successful in a certain sense, and because there's a lot of potential for money on the line, they just want to make sure that they are making the best decision and the safest decision for the business.
Traditionally, construction industry is very conservative. So it's not the type of industry that would embrace technology as, well, high-tech, right? That is changing, and I'm very pleased to see that over the last recent years. But at the same time, we know that there are some owners who are still very hesitant when it comes to new technology and rather just stick to the same way they have been performing the same application for years.
The main barrier that we found in terms of adoption was, again, just limited amount of time for the contractors to make an investment decision about, you know, where the anticipated benefits, were they going to cover the anticipated cost. Having said that, Hilti has shared with us, with ACA, that a number of the contractors that were involved in the demo have indeed gone on to make investments in the technology.
You don't know what you don't know, right? So I think that's a lot of the times where you see there's barriers to entry because you just don't know what you don't know. But then once you see a tool and you have a physical, tangible experience with it, you're more to buy into it. Hardware is hard. So if hardware is hard, getting people to transition is kind of just as hard. It's equally as a challenge.
The ACA and Hilti were able to raise the profile of the exoskeleton technology, put it through its paces in the field, and even move a few units. But most importantly, this project began a discussion bringing in voices from all levels of the industry.
Take the varnish off it and let us know exactly what you think.
With an eye to the future.
It's been almost a year now. It's been a great learning experience for me in my role, but also for us as a company in how we can use that relationship we have with trade associations to partner and work closely in making a much better construction industry overall.
I think the one thing that we are seeing a lot is a great response from the leadership of the construction industry, who see this as a great way to bring added safety into the work site, make sure that the people that they employ and that they have on site every day are as safe as possible, helping them to lessen the load that they experience.
At the end of the day, we're all here for one another. We're here for our people. We want people to come to work, know that they're gonna not be put in situations that are considered risky. We want them to be provided with the tools necessary to do their job, and we want everyone to go home safely. I think the organizational changes that are occurring within the industry are more people focused, where before they were more production and cost focused. But just given our circumstances and seeing a cultural shift, you can see there being more of an industry culture of caring, rather than bottom line, kind of get her done attitude.
Yeah, you can really feel it, like my arms just fly up.
Did anybody 30 years ago talk about work-life balance? I think the industry can be very justifiably proud of changes and improvements in worker safety on job sites. Everything's been very much about productivity and bottom line. But not only do we see society's expectations of changing how we work, but we also see the expectations of people coming into our industry and choosing our industry as a career of choice changing. Increasingly, I think what we hear from the industry leaders around our board table and elsewhere is this is the kind of thing that the construction industry wants to embrace. New technologies that are making their workers safer, healthier, more productive. These are the sorts of things that if we want to attract a younger demographic to become skilled trades professionals, I think the industry, again, kudos to them. They recognize these are the sorts of things that they're asking their construction associations to get involved in.
We used to joke about it here at site that we need a robot exoskeleton to help us, and then you guys came up and there was actually one, so it was pretty cool.